Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts. Sorry, I had to get some water because my voice is about to go wallop on me here. Wouldn't that be terrible?
It would.
What would you do?
I'd just talk away.
Would you?
No.
To yourself? Anyway, and I really wanted my voice for this.
Did you?
Particular podcast, yeah. Because we're going to talk about John Gilligan, his tangled love life.
Yeah.
His current situation.
Yeah.
Where he finds himself in Fortcalent Prison in Spain. I was going to say Lanzarote, Spain. And ultimately, there is a lid for every pot.
Well, is it love conquers all? But whatever way you want to look at it.
I'm just such an old cynic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just think it's just the way it is. So anyway, John Gilligan, and we spoke about him last week, he has found himself in the misfortune of being caught up in police raids on a property he was living in, where quite a significant quantity of pink cocaine and another synthetic drug was discovered. And he was put into prison as the police continue their investigations into this. Now, John Gilligan doesn't appear to have the money to go for bail, to look for bail, to pay bail. So he needs to collect some money. Yeah. He's in a difficult position because no one's going to pay him when he's in prison. He's been drug dealing down in the Costa Blanca.
It is alleged.
And he has been essentially, what I'm told, is that he's been sort of street dealing.
Yeah.
So, he has a phone and he'll take an order and he will go and deliver the drugs or whatever. Pink cocaine would be seen as something that those before the courts in Spain would be sort of convicted harshly with. Yeah.
I mean, Spain have a long tradition of treating cannabis as very lenient sentences. And obviously the situation with the prescription drugs, which was what he was caught with before effectively, it's even more kind of, they have very lax laws around prescription medications in Spain. Yeah. So pink cocaine would be a significant step up. We had a story actually last year about two Irish guys being caught in the beta with, I think it was like €60 worth of synthetic drugs. Yeah. And they were seeking an 18-month jail sentence for them. So there'd be a very big distinction between what it is alleged he was dealing now and what he was caught with before when he received the 22-month sentence.
So tragedy of sorts for John. Anyway, he has also been, while he's been living down there, he has taken up with a new woman.
Yeah.
A younger woman. And
how much younger do you know?
Good bit younger, I think. Yeah.
Because Sharon Oliver is also younger than him, a decade younger. So,
well, perhaps, but she would be older than, unfortunately, the new girl. Anyway, let's explain what we're talking about here, because this is when we come to his tangled love life. So the house that John Gilligan was living in belonged to a lady called Sharon Oliver, who'd been his partner for years after he was released from jail here in Ireland and eventually settled back down in the Torrevieja area of Alicante. She came on the scene and, she's a woman from England. She's a mother herself and she owns this property out there. Now, she got caught up in John Gilligan's last bust when he got a fine and a suspended sentence before the courts for that cannabis and pill operation. And she was acquitted, I think, was she?
She was acquitted. There was basically a plea deal done with Gilligan and some other associates, including Fat Tony Armstrong. And they signed this plea deal and basically...
So they were manly and they took the...
Yeah, but she was also offered the same plea deal but refused to accept it, said she had done nothing wrong and she was merely, just caught up with it, as you said. Okay. And that was accepted by the court.
Okay.
John Gilligan, to a degree, he sort of took part of the blame for it, effectively.
Well, I think he was caught in the property with
He was,
but
I think he kind of...
videoed as he was being frog marched out by the police.
Yeah, but she was acquitted totally, and the judge at the time concluded in an 11-page ruling, it has not been proven that Sharon intervened in the illicit operations carried out by the others. And he said that a conversation intercepted by the police before their arrests, in which Gilligan told his girlfriend Sharon Oliver the 20,000 tablets they had at home were enough for 3 or 4 deliveries, did not make her criminally responsible. So that was the decision, and she walked.
And of course, that wasn't her home.
No.
I think that was a Gilligan property that happened in. So, fast forward to last summer, in the aftermath of that case. And she has told friends out there on the Costa Blanca that John, she realised, had started dealing in cocaine.
Yeah.
And she didn't think that was okay at all. She obviously, maybe the other cannabis and the tablet drugs she'd no problem with, but she definitely, this was a line in the sand for the cocaine. So she decided to leave him and go back to England.
Yeah.
And give him space to think about, it was her or the pink cocaine, really, basically.
Yeah.
But she did leave him live in her house rent-free.
Yeah.
She left him stay there. And we have video footage that shows how she came back to find it. So that shows the state of her house when she arrived back, of course, in Alicante in recent weeks, because she had received a phone call from John Gilligan telling her the kind of trouble and strife he was in and begging her to come out and help him. And indeed, she got on a flight and went out to Alicante. And she has been going around with a begging bowl for John Gilligan to try and raise some money for him so as he can, apply to the courts for bail and get out of jail while he awaits the conclusion of the investigation. But she doesn't obviously realise that she had been replaced.
Yeah.
And perhaps that younger lady wasn't of much use to John Gilligan.
Well, she was, the younger lady may have been only there for the good times.
Maybe.
Whatever good times can be had from a guy delivering drugs on a mobile phone.
Yeah, at 72.
I mean, Sharon Oliver was very loyal, actually, wasn't she? Because if you look back at the time when he had been, shortly after he'd been shot, he was under a very imminent threat against his life. And she had kind of stuck by him through all of those.
Was she around at that stage?
Well, she was there, wasn't she, living with him at some stage in the UK. So probably in the aftermath. Certainly not when the...
I'd say he was living with her.
Yeah. So certainly not she probably wasn't with him at the attempt.
Yeah.
But in the aftermath, and that went on for years before.
I can't quite remember when I first heard that he had this new girlfriend.
Well, they were living in a caravan.
Were they in a caravan somewhere in Ireland? They were. He was still on the move, I suppose, and she was with him then.
She was with him then, and I mean, it's only, I suppose, in recent times where it would have been clear that he was safe. Obviously then when he resurfaced in Spain and he was arrested, it was a very high profile arrest at the time because he'd kind of gone underground, and the Spanish police made a big deal of it. Obviously they found a handgun, and they put out a press release saying there was the gun could be the gun used to kill Veronica Guerin, which it didn't prove to be. So through all that publicity, she stood by him. If you look back on social media, she would have, had the odd, certainly at the start, posts about her handsome John and things like that.
Stop now. I'm actually going to... No, that's enough. Did she?
But she definitely had some lovey-dovey messages now.
Posts on social media about her. Oh.
Yeah. So, but what seems to have happened is that after she left, he found love again.
He found love again, yeah. But he knows who to go back to when he needs the help. I find it interesting because Darren Gilligan, who was his son, and was always beside him after he originally was, released from jail in Portlaoise prison, and he was over in Alicante with him. He was caught up in that, in the drugs raid, the cannabis and pills in the post situation. But he is nowhere to be seen, and they appear to have fallen out. He's back in Ireland. Tracy Gilligan is nowhere to be seen. And obviously Geraldine Gilligan, his estranged wife, is nowhere to be seen. It's like as if, they have I wouldn't say turned their backs on him, but maybe they've had enough of him
Yeah.
at this point in time.
But I think Darren was the one who stuck with him the longest, but there certainly did seem to be a sense that a parting had occurred.
Well, the information is that, that the money is now finally run dry.
Yeah.
There is no more money. And Gilligan is desperate to raise funds. He doesn't seem to have any way of doing that.
Yeah.
And, certainly any monies that Darren would have had access to and perhaps Geraldine and Tracy would have had access to over the years when he was in prison appears to be completely gone.
Yeah.
So he's sort of starting again. Pension's obviously not enough to live off.
No. So, but he did seem like, from what we heard, was besotted with this younger woman, and maybe it's an attempt to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, it's if you're in your early 70s, maybe you do have to look like you're a man of means.
I don't know. I'll tell you this much. I want to grow old with a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
I really do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
do you not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, why break the habit of a lifetime?
I mean, there's talk that there's some sort of a tattoo on his arm or somewhere with this younger woman's name on it, which is going to be very difficult to hide if he does get bail and goes back into the arms of Sharon Oliver, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, it definitely is. And I mean, the house, as you can see in the pictures, was really, really looked in a terrible nick.
Yeah.
Now, presumably any number of things could have happened. The police would have raided the house. They tend to, I presume it's the same in Spain, they tend to overturn the house and pull everything out. And if it happens in Ireland, they'll rummage through your house and maybe cause a bit of damage, and then you're able to build them in the aftermath for cleaning it up. And then maybe the house is laying empty for a period of time.
The house just looks like, do you remember that ad years ago? When was there something about, there was somebody living in a house and somebody came in and said, oh, call the police, there's been a break-in. And actually it was just the way the person lived.
Yeah, but
that's what it feels like to me when I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought he was the tidiest man.
No.
And I suppose he didn't have time to clean up before Sharon Oliver arrived back to see her property.
No, I mean, presumably...
Now, it could be wrong, could be blaming him in the wrong. Maybe it was the police that took all that.
Or maybe there was other people broke in and made a mess of it. But but I did, it's funny because we have a number of hardened journalists who will be used to seeing all sorts of things.
Right.
One of our, Emer Rabbit, who's regularly on this podcast, was actually horrified to stage the place in the way that you wouldn't be with other scenes of death and destruction.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just looks so messy. It just looked to me like whoever was living there was messy.
Yeah.
A messy fecker.
Yeah.
There was Guinness cans, on the table in the sitting room rather than being in the bin. There was stuff in the kitchen that I'm not sure that the cops would have particularly needed to go through the tea bags. It looks like somebody just came in with shopping and just landed it on the kitchen counters. That really is my pet hate.
Is it right?
I can't stand anything being left on the kitchen counters.
Well, you wouldn't like that place then.
And I like milk in jugs. I don't really like it in the big plastic container on the table. Do you know that?
Yeah.
So many things actually that I should write a list of.
You should do.
For the people I live with, because maybe they should know by now.
Well, don't move John Gilligan into your home.
God, no. Anyway, we'll keep on this and see what happens for John next. But I'm glad I kept my voice for that. Thanks, Niall.
Thanks, Nicola.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.